Okay, I will start away. My name is Keith Skoglund. I'm with Heatcon Composite Systems, salesperson in the center part of the country. I'm located here in the Seattle, Washington office, and I've been with Heatcon for just coming up on 18 years, and have been with the company for a while. So really enjoy the process of composite repair and heating systems for that process. Today, I'm going to give an overview of who Heatcon is and what our experience is within the industry. And I'm ever so often I'm going to look up to my right because then I can see when you see my slide, because there is a little bit of latency from between my computer and when you see it. Do you see it yet? There we go on my end.
No, it looks pretty quick on my end, so I don't know. It looks good.
Fantastic. Heatcon is a manufacturer of equipment that is used for the repair of composite structures. We provide all types of additional products specific for that repair, including the composite materials that an organization is going to use for making repair on those structures. We're an authorized material distributor for Hexcel, Solvay, Torre, and 3M, specific to that process. Prepregs, dry fibers, resins. We're going to go more through the material offering as well. We have a number of different quality and customer approvals. We're certified to AS9100 as well as ISO. And that just kind of matters as far as the quality system behind our business, as far as what we're putting out to the industry. We're put in a lot of SRMs, I mean, many, specific to the manufacture of different structures and then repair. So Boeing, Airbus, Embraer, we have a relationship with most of the manufacturers of aerostructures out in the world. And we're going to find us in the SRMs as well when it comes to equipment that is specified for the process. So because we've been in the industry for a while, it's been about 40 years since we put out our first bonder. Pretty quickly, we were approached by different types of training organizations to talk about them getting our equipment for the process of training. We've been working with OEM training divisions. So the people who are making those structures, writing those SRMs, they also have training schools. We've been working with those organizations pretty much since we began. We also work with operator training divisions. So Lufthansa and Delta and all of those organizations are going to have their own training groups specific to repairing their structures, and we're working with them. They're using our equipment in their schools. Community colleges, I mean, this is expanding more and more at higher levels as far as working on composites specifically. We've been working with them. Universities, they have composite programs, a lot of times more focused on new technology and advancing that technology, and also working with industry on getting coupons and testing coupons and such. We've been working with them, selling our equipment, and also working on the technology side of specifically on repair. A&P programs, that's a given. As more of these groups are coming with adding composites, and that's been happening over the last couple decades, we're selling our equipment to them and also working with them on the process of repair. And then private training schools is the last one. An example of that would be Aberus, where they are composite focused. Repair is one part of that process, and our equipment, you go to those training schools, you'll be using our equipment in the process of learning how to repair structures. What's very important to Heatcon is that we have a relationship with the industry, not just in selling a hammer. What we have is a hot bonder. It's not just the tools, but it's also a relationship in where the technology of repair is going. What is next? and what are the demands of the industry. And a lot of times that's driven specifically by the OEMs, but that could also be driven by other organizations as well. And so we want to make sure that we are part of multiple organizations who are looking at the future of composite repair specifically, and we can help bring our knowledge and our abilities on designing new equipment and how that's going to be used specifically in the industry. So you can see the listing of the different organizations that we're meeting with on a regular basis to have a discussion on what those new specifications are going to be. CRC, the Commercial Aircraft Composite Repair Committee, is a really good example. They are driving the next technology within the industry, and also just putting it down on paper. What are we doing? What makes a good repair? What makes a good procedure? So that's a number of groups that we're working with on this process. Next, I want to discuss the hot bonder and our family of hot bonders, and specifically I'm going to be talking about the educational offering we have using our micro bonder, our smaller bonder, and it is the HCS 8800 and the entire package that we're offering to the industry. Just to go ahead, I'm going to show a picture. Hopefully I'm not changing slides too quickly for everyone. You'll see this is the entire package on the image here. And included in here is the 8800 hot bonder. I'm going to go back and we'll look at the what drives what's in this technology. And I'm going to just look at Richard. Has the screens caught up on your end? Okay, thank you. So the package is, the primary point in that package is our 8800 bonder. It has 6 thermocouple inputs. It has either 120 or 240 volt input to provide power. It has output where you're going to plug your heat blanket directly into that system. It's UL and CE rated. That's a biggie in some places. It also has vacuum monitoring built in. When we get into the industry, vacuum monitoring is going to be pretty much everywhere. Knowing what level of vacuum we're drawing and giving us an alarm if we drop below a particular level. And also this system has data logging capability. And that's, once again, that's going to be present in everyday repair industry. They're going to want to have a record of that repair. And that could be a ticker tape. Okay, we have printers on our bonders, and it's printing out a continuous run, or you can reprint it all at the end. Those are your options. Or you can extract the data via USB stick, and then you could put it into our software, and it comes out as a CSV file, but we put it in a nice graph so that you can see what all the different temperature sensors were doing and what the vacuum was doing along the way. You can see if there were any alarms that happen. And that's going to be pretty traditional in the industry. Someone is going to want to know that that data was kept and is available. So even at our educational package level, we're putting that technology in there because that's what these students are going to see when they get into the field. When they get out there, they're going to need to know what this process is like and what these technologies are, how to program the system. And our system is ready to go for that. So here's the package. It is, and can you see my mouse pointer? You can? Okay, fantastic. So here is the actual hot bonder itself, the display screen, the 6 thermocouple inputs, power in, power out, and a power switch to turn the system on. And then also on here is a port for bringing in a vacuum. To the right here is a vacuum sniffer, what goes underneath the vacuum bag with a hose to come back into the hot bonder. We're going to need a heat source. So we have our heat blanket. That's the HCS 120120, and it has a plug to plug directly into the hot bonder. This educational package comes with one heater, and we can be flexible on the size. It's, you know, if 12 by 12 is too big, we can go to a lower size without an issue. But it's coming with one blanket. It's intended to be for like a pair of people teamed off in the testing process or in the learning process, setting up a repair area and using that one blanket to do the work. You've got a power cable and you have 6 thermocouples, and it all goes into one case. Let's just quickly talk about the HCS 8800 capabilities, because this is going to be mirrored in all of the rest of our products. This system is smaller, it has a smaller display, it doesn't have a color display, so it's not quite as robust as our bigger bonders, but it does have all of the same functions, the same capabilities that you're going to find as a basic requirement in the shops. So when your students get out there into the field, they're going to walk in having that experience, having that knowledge of how to program and what those alarms and basic requirements are. As I said, it has a dual voltage, a maximum of 16 amps, which is going to handle up to a pretty large heater on 120 volts, about an 18 by 18 inch silicone heater. This is a big key. We can run off the hottest thermocouple, the coolest thermocouple, or an average of all the thermocouples. If you're using more than one, that is a real benefit, and that's technology that's built in to our highest level product and to the 8800 as well. It also has, and I'm just looking to see if it's on here, it has a high limit circuit. So in the event that something does run away for any reason, one of the relays fails closed inside and it starts to the temperature starts running away, there is a safety circuit inside. It measures that temperature and it will shut the system down before. I'm going to redo this, do the webcam. Can you hear me on the webcam? Okay. Sorry about that, everyone. For some reason, my audio dropped out and I switched the audio to the webcam. And there we are. Okay, so we're back. If you have a power failure, if somebody trips over the cord, pulls the power, our system will have an automatic recovery if you resume power within 2 minutes of the power loss. We talked about vacuum monitoring and all the alarms that can come with the vacuum monitoring. Another thing that you're going to find in all of our bonders is an audible alert. So it's a beeper, a buzzer. It's going to yell at you when you get to the next step in your process, or if something goes wrong. It brings people, it alerts people that there's an issue to come and take a look at. USB download, and there is a graphical representation on the display. So you can actually see a curve of the temperature you're going up to, you're holding for a period of time, and then coming down or going up to another temperature. You're going to see that graphical representation on the screen and see how much time is left. And we've made a point of making this system affordable.
Okay, it is something that you can get into for a number of different students, purchase a number of different units. Let's talk about materials. These are our common composite materials that we have in inventory, and you can purchase small quantities of. So you don't have to buy full rolls of everything, especially the prepregs and the other materials, the adhesives. It's a lot to purchase that much. So my screen sharing is now paused. Do you see my screen sharing? Okay, it's just my screen is yelling at me, so I'll keep going. Dry fabric. This is if you're going to be doing a wet layup, you'll need some dry fabric, and you'll need some resin systems. We have fillers and foams to put in for core material repairs. Film adhesive generally needs to be frozen to continue to be certified. Most of our materials are certified materials because that is what our demand is from the rest of the industry. It has to be certified. Core material, we do have honeycomb and non-certified honeycomb, so at lower cost. Prepregs, we have a number of different prepregs, and I'll show it on the next slide, the different products that we have. And all the different consumables, the products that you're going to use in laying up your vacuum bag that will then be consumed as part of the process of making your repair. This is the, does it get to the next slide okay for you? Because my screen is still flashing at me saying that my screen sharing is paused. Unfortunately, I can't hear. Okay, so Crystal, can you hear me? It's saying my screen sharing is paused.
We can hear you.
But I don't think you're seeing my screen, unfortunately.
I'm on the educational materials offering page.
Yes, and I just went to the next page, but it hasn't pulled in yet.
Okay.
And I just got something flashing on my screen, and I'm not sure why. It says my sharing is paused. Is it me? Another window is on top of your shared application. Please move this window. All right. Let's just jump out and jump back in. Hold on. Close all those windows.
At least it's telling you what the problem is.
It's just too bad it's happening. But that's okay. Okay, I'm back in and I can hear you now, which is great. So these are all normally inventoried materials, products that we're going to have in our freezer on our shelf back in Seattle, Washington, and can be shipped out in relatively small quantities. You see a minimum order quantity here. You are welcome on film adhesives and prepregs to give us a yell and say, hey, do you have an offcut? Do you have a smaller quantity than 5 yards, 3 yards, 2 yards? When we get a large roll of material and we recut it, and we're able to do that as an authorized distributor, then sometimes we have little chunks left over at the end, and that would be good material to be used for training. But of course, we have it in 5-yard rolls already in inventory in boxes. It can be shipped out pretty rapidly out our door. So we're going to put this up on our website. It's linked as far as these educational materials and our standard quantities. So you can take a look at those, and I'll be available for additional questions about what each one is and how it's used. Let's talk real quickly about what a hot bonder is. So this is an out of autoclave process. It's going to control and monitor the application of electric heat. We're pretty much specified to electric heat, and also vacuum. So we've got power coming into this temperature control system. It's called a hot bonder. It's using heat to bond our new replacement layers of composites. We've got compressed air coming into our hot bonder, and it's actually going to be able to draw a vacuum. We have power out to our heat blanket, and that power out is going to be switched on and off, and it can happen every second if it needs to, based on the feedback it's getting from the thermocouples. So the thermocouple is in the repair area, and it looks at that data and says, should I be on or should I be off in order to maintain the current temperature that we're supposed to be at? Well, what temperature should we be at? Well, if you have a cure profile, we need to raise the temperature at a certain rate, going up to a temperature of, let's say, 250 degrees, and then hold for a period of time. We want to hold as closely to that rate as possible. And the bonder just does that. It has a processor inside of it that's comparing what your actual temperature is compared to what you want to be at, and it turns the heater on or off in order to make that happen. So that's what makes up, its basic level a hot bonder. Ideally, and I'd say even more than ideally, we want to have a temperature sensor under every heater. We want to know what our temperature is underneath that heater, that we're not lagging behind on one heater or ahead on another heater, or gosh forbid, we're way off because we don't have a temperature sensor under each one. That's what makes up a good quality hot bonder. Also, we have vacuum going out to our repair area because we're going to draw a vacuum bag to get our proper compression, consolidation of our plies, removing our volatiles out of the process. And then we're going to have a vacuum sensor giving us feedback. You're going to find our hot bonders all over the world. Many organizations have our hot bonders, and I believe we make a real good product. The primary one you're going to see out there is our dual zone hot bonder. It has 2 independent zones, up to 10 thermocouples for each zone. It shares a common screen and interface, but otherwise it's 2 completely independent zones. A group of students could split up on either side and start independently of each other. And we have a lot of dual zones out in the schools. We also have a single zone. This is our touchscreen model. We have another one with a keypad and a printer as well. And then we're making a lot of other products specific to the needs of the industry. The network bonder and this smart susceptor bonder, which is a self-regulating heater. It just keeps a uniform temperature across the entire surface. Those are kind of cutting edge in the industry, driven by the industry. They come in and say, we need something that does this. We create it and then put it out there. And commonly they're going to be in the SRM. Here are a couple of application examples. We've got a 787 strike. So they're using one zone of control, a single zone hot bonder, and a heat blanket in order to do a composite repair. And you can see the operator is in the process of setting up the vacuum bag. And all those red wires coming down are thermocouples, and you've got a heater blanket up there. To our right, we have a fan cowl repair using, once again, a single zone and one blanket. Although it's not uncommon if we're going to see a reskinning that we're going to get multiple zones in that process. And if you go down to the bottom left, here is a 6-zone control system using a 6-zone blanket. Pretty uncommon in the industry. We're not seeing a ton of that, but those are projects that we've worked on, and we're seeing more and more as composites become more of the standard. And here's an engine fan track being replaced. We're using a dual zone heat blanket with a dual zone hot bonder to run this system. Just to look at a couple different shapes. This bottom left is a stretch heat blanket. It actually conforms under vacuum to your odd shapes. So it has wires that can stretch in multiple directions to do that. One of the things that's really critical for the industry is having uniformity of heat output. They want to know that all sections of their structure were heated to a uniform temperature and cured. And so a uniform heating output is pretty key. And we're looking at that technology all the time, how to make those improvements and give the feedback back to the operators so they know that that repair was successful. Finally, we're going to look at a few additional products that have been purchased by different schools. The top one is our repair clave product. This differs from a standard autoclave in that the entire chamber isn't heated. Only the heat blanket inside, which has connections, is being heated and goes on to a structure within the pressure vessel. The autoclave is a pressure vessel. And instead of heating the entire vessel, we're just heating that particular section you want using whatever size heat blanket. You have our standard bonder controls on the side. We're going to be using shop air to pressurize. We don't have an inert gas to try to manage. It's portable. You see this one, it went into a school. It has wheels. It can move around. This is a way for students to get experience using a pressure vessel, getting that type of compression on their either manufactured or repaired structure without having the cost of nitrogen and actually the cost of standard autoclave. It's a lower cost option. But really, I just commissioned one last week, really great product for making repairs with high compression values. Here's a heated table that we can debulk products or even take it up to a full cure on top of the heat blanket. Once again, our standard hot bonder controls that are designed for the repair industry. The software is easy to use, kind of walks you through. You're not learning on an industrial temperature controller. This is designed for repair. You're going to have, as you're grinding your composite materials, you're going to have to gather that what's left over, and our downdraft tables will do that. If you are using prepregs, you're going to, or film adhesives, you're going to want to store them in a frozen condition. And our cold cabinets, they're chest freezers that are going to hold the temperature and data log that. And heat lamps have been another product that have been popular with schools for structures that heat blankets don't work as well on. Thank you for your time. We are going to have a WebEx. There was a link on the page to go to our WebEx, and if you have additional questions about who Heatcon is or the products that we offer, I'll be on there for a couple hours, and you can jump in and ask questions. I'd be happy to have that discussion with you. Thank you very much.
Crystal, you're muted.
No, I was on mute, sorry. Keith, I think, do we have that link on our landing page? Is that where that is?
We'll provide it. It's not on the landing page?
The link, the WebEx link.
The WebEx link is on the landing page. Yes, it is on the landing page.
Cool.
Thank you.
There it is. Let me grab it, and I'm going to put it in the chat just so that everybody's got it.
I appreciate that. I have to ask Richard these things. I'm just the talking head. He gets it all done.
Yeah. All right, here we go. So yes, the information is on the landing page of the exhibitor schedule, but I've also put it there in the chat box. So you've got it.
Okay. Thank you, everyone. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Richard. Hey, we look forward to meeting you in person. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. I don't know when, but it will happen.